We are in Abuja, the Nigerian capital, where industry captains, both from the private and the public sector, and also men from the academia, civil society organizations, are gathered here for the Nigerian Economic Summit. It is the 20th Nigerian Economic Summit with focus on education. The theme really is transforming education through partnerships for global competitiveness. Indeed, with the number of issues prevailing in the Nigerian education sector, it is a focus now for stakeholders to try as much as possible to get things rolling in the education sector with a view to improving the nation's economy. And you can see participants here just in about a few minutes. We will be starting off. It is day one. In a couple of minutes, it will be action time. You can see the chairs here all ready to be occupied. The President, good luck, Ebele Jonathan, is expected to be here, the Minister of Education, and indeed other industry stakeholders from across the public and private sector. And the focus really is this, the Nigerian education sector. Focus on education. What are your expectations?
Well, our expectation is that at least, it brings out the, everybody's attention that we need to do quite, a lot in education, both, from the foundation level and also to the upper level. Foundation level, out of about 53 million, children out of school, 10.5 million is here in Nigeria, and most of the time, I think 9 out of 10.5 is coming from the northern part of the country. So I think we need to do quite a lot in education.
That is the focus for the 20th Nigerian Economic Summit holding here in the nation's capital, Abuja, Nigeria. Now, what are your expectations for this three-day summit? The focus absolutely is on, obviously, is on education. So, what are your expectations?
Like I said, it's education. It's foundational. It's a time that we're really, really turning around our lives as a people. And so, I expect that we're not only going to discuss, we're going to be able to reach very, very, very serious decisions that will take the educational structure forward in Nigeria.
All right. So, Millicent, do you think that education has a role to play in the development of the country's economy?
Of course, yes. Education has a great role to play in the terms of economic situation of the country, Nigeria.
My name is Brooke Butler, and I'm the country director for Oxford Business Group.
All right, brilliant. So, what are your expectations? The theme is actually
Education.
Education. So, what are your expectations for this 3 days?
Yeah, my expectation is to basically hear dialogue on how obviously there's a huge gap, within education in Nigeria right now. And as the economy continues to grow, you have to have human capital to actually be able to be skilled and employable. And so I think it's quite interesting what they're doing with the different sectors to show with the workshops on how do we create better education for oil and gas, how do we create it better for agriculture, how do we do it for ICT. And I really want to see the ties that will link everything together to help, bring the country forward, because the majority of the population is quite young and needs education to really push the country forward in a good direction.
I took out from the first session is planning without figures, so how can you expatiate on that a bit? As regards education, development of the education sector.
Well, I think this has been a problem that has been with us, but I can say that it's been addressed well, because the National Bureau of Statistics and the Federal Ministry of Education are equally improving every day on the quantity, quality of data that is being released across board, both in the education sector, in the health sector, and in some other sectors, which is helping in planning. We are not yet there. We are improving, but we will get there. Well, I think it requires 2 or 3-pronged approach. First and foremost, there is a vision. We have a vision in this country, which is the Vision 2020. and it addressed the education sector. What we need is that we need to build institutional capacity. We need to build our human capital. And then our governance issues will be strengthened. I believe when those things are strengthened and we have the political will to implement what has already been envisioned, I think we'll get there.
So what have you made of some of the issues that have been discussed so far?
To an extent, I think value on education is really the bone of contention in this matter. There's more value on education. We work towards attaining those values, then we'll be there.
Can you remember any of the recommendations that was made and that you think will address holistically the problems confronting the education sector?
Very well. The one Mr. Fela Drotoye said, he stressed so much on value.
I really don't accept sometimes there's so much argument about government not being in a position to fund education. If we can't fund education, then we shouldn't fund defense, we shouldn't fund presidency, we shouldn't fund anybody.
Because in Nigeria, everything is all about what can I get into this, not the commitment itself. You understand what I'm saying? Not the commitment itself, but what we talk about today as one of the in the plenary, is that going to school, as in those days, just value. It was value was attached compared to what we have today. Yeah. So all still boils down on the value of the education we have now.
And I believe that will revolve around placing value on the quality of teachers, quality of students, and
very well. Value of teachers, because what we have now, the teachers we have. For me, I work with an educational institution, but then you see the core value is not really there. You see some teachers, they are not. When you check them out, there's nothing. Or it still boils down to the value we're talking about now.
Yes, it's lunchtime right here at the 20th Nigerian Economic Summit, and while we see some of the participants here trying to go grab lunch, also we have with us a professor. Sir, what's your name, sir? Can you just...
Professor Yumiri.
All right, Professor Yumiri. So far, what have you made of some of the issues that have been discussed?
Well, I think very excellent issues have been discussed here. First and foremost, it has been established we have a vision where we are going. That has been clearly established. But the means towards getting there, seems to be lacking. Especially we're talking of value system, we're talking of integrity, we're talking of honesty, and so forth. These are ingredients or factors that must come into the education sector. Because, for example, the example we've seen here, if you look at the past, we have produced people that have become something that have been moving this country forward. But where did it go wrong that now what we are producing are being classified and as not being good enough to manage the economy of our country? So something is wrong somewhere. And that is the issue here that we want to establish and see how we can now work on it in order to be able to produce manpower that can manage the economy.
I do have here with me the Vice Chancellor of Gusau University. Yes, Professor Aminu, you were one of the panelists who was on set over there, and one of the recommendations that you did give was for us to have more autonomy for the primary education. How best can you explain that?
I was referring actually to autonomy for Nigerian universities. Autonomy is very, very important because it removes universities from the bureaucracy. It unleashes their own creativity. Autonomy is important for universities to operate optimally, and and all the best universities in the world are autonomous of government and political control, and it is that autonomy that creates the enabling environment for universities to operate optimally. That's why I emphasize this issue of autonomy.
Some have argued, though, that what more autonomy do you want to have? I mean, like, the universities are being given free hand, there's been increased funding for the universities, so they're just asking and just wondering. Some have said maybe they're giving too much.
No, they are not being given too much. The autonomy we are referring to that at the moment we are subject to a number of controls. All the things that are meant for the whole service of the federation are also implemented as far as universities are concerned, whether it is monetization, whether it is pension, whether it is the overall service-wide payroll system, and so on and so forth. And on a day-to-day basis, we do receive people who are professional bodies who are backed by law, who come to us and they want to regulate us. So there are a lot of controls over our university, and it's not healthy for a good university development.
My glass of juice is almost over. It's lunchtime here, day one at the Nigerian Economic Summit. Participants are already munching and taking different drinks at this time. And all of that they are taking in order to get energy for the next round of talks.